Okay, so we're gonna make the, what is this? This is the pin slider block. So I'm gonna start by creating a sketch. I'm gonna sketch on the right plane, and I'm gonna zoom in a little bit. I'm in inches. Okay, so let's go ahead and start sketching. So I'm gonna create this kind of T shape. So let's say it looks like this. I'm gonna start here, and I'm just gonna try to make like a T. So I'm gonna make sure everything is perpendicular. So when I make these lines, I'm gonna move it slowly until I get that perpendicular mark, and then go here, and then there, come down, over, and close. And there's my shape. It's not perfect, but I'm gonna dimension it later. So let's do some constraints first. So I'm going to constrain, I want the midpoint of this line to stay on the origin. So I'm gonna pick midpoint, and I'm gonna pick the midpoint of this line. I'm gonna constrain it to move it real slow, and I'm gonna find the origin, and I'm gonna click that, and now the midpoint of this line is constrained to the origin. So if I go move this, see how that line stays centered on the origin? That's what I want. Okay, so now let's go look at these. See how this shoulder and this shoulder, I want those shoulders to be together. So I'm going to make them collinear. So I'm gonna click that one, and now they're collinear. That's what I want. Okay, so lastly, I want the midpoint of this line to match up with the midpoint of that line. I want them to be vertically constrained on the same line, right? So right now, see how if I move this, that line's midpoint shifts over. I don't want that. So what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna do a vertical constraint. And on this line, I wanna find the midpoint. So to find the midpoint, I'm gonna hold shift, and I'm gonna slowly move along this line, and there's the midpoint. So I'm gonna click that, and then I'm gonna come click down here on the midpoint, and now if I go to select, that midpoint is vertically constrained with the bottom midpoint. So that's what I want. That's perfect. Okay, so let's go do some dimensions now. Let me pull up my dimensions. I can put in, let's do the overall height. So from there to there, that is 0.813. And then what's my total width? 0.734. So the width of this thing is 0.734. And then that messed this up. So just to make it easier to look at, I'm going to change this and move this in. That's more of what it's supposed to look like. Dimension. So I got the height, I got the width. Let's get the height of this little shoulder right here that's going up. So this thing. So I'm going to make that. It says it's 0.375. There's that. And the last thing I need, the only thing that's blue still, is this. So I need to set how wide this little shoulder is. So right here, if I dimension, whoops, I didn't want that. I don't want the angle, I want just this. There we go. So this is going to be 0.141. And there's my block. So everything's black, it's constrained, finish sketch. Let me look at it, that looks good. Okay, so now let's extrude it. So I'm gonna zoom out a little bit. Click this, extrude, and it says the width is 1.75, if I'm right. Yes, 1.75, so 1.75. But what I'm gonna do, see how the origin is over here? To make something easier later, instead of extruding just from here, 1.75, I'm gonna make a symmetric extrusion. So it's gonna extend symmetrically, so that way the origin right there will stay centered in the block. So this is 1.75, and if you do that first, you notice it's too big because it's measuring here, so it's 175 on both sides. So my measurement, I want to make it whole length. Now 1.75 is the whole thing, and everything else looks good, so I'm going to press OK, and there's my block. So let's let's do the chamfers now. So I'm going to go modify right in front of me, chamfer. And I'm going to click these 8 corners that it says in the drawing, get a chamfer. 5, 6, and you can roll it around, but you can also move real slowly, and these hidden edges will show up. So there's one, and the other one should be around here somewhere. There it is. And those chamfers are 0.125. There we go. And now let's do the fillets. So we're going to round these edges off. So that edge and that edge get rounded off, and it says the radius of the fillet is 0.25. Hit OK, and there we go. So that looks good. All we got to do is put the hole in the middle. So this is where doing the midpoint was an important deal, right? So it's not going to ruin it if you didn't put this in the midpoint, but it makes it a whole bunch easier to put a hole here, because what I can do is I'm going to create a sketch, and on this plane I'm going to put a point. Instead of just randomly drawing a hole, I'm going to put a point to draw the hole on. So I'm going to create a point, and because the midpoint's here, that origin is right here, I can place it right on the origin. And now I've got a point. I'm going to finish my sketch, because when you go make a hole, create hole, you can either choose a face and you can put it randomly on the face, or you can choose a point. See how it says select face, plane, or sketch point? So I made that point. I can choose that point, and now it'll make a hole exactly on that point. So let's look at my hole note. It says the diameter is 0.165 through, so this is already at 0.165, 0.165. Oops, don't want to hit enter. 0.165 is the hole all the way through. Let's see if it goes all the way through. Yes, I'm going to make sure you drag it all the way up through. And then my counter bore, right, hole type, I have it on counter bore. It's 0.177 wide, so this is already 0.177 wide, and it goes down 0.633. It's already 0.633 deep, and so that should be my hole. If I click OK, now I can roll it, and there's my hole. And so my block is done. So let me go back here. I'm going to change the material. I'm going to go modify physical material, and I'm going to change this to plastic since we're going to 3D print this. So it's plastic. I'm going to choose ABS plastic. We use PLA, but they don't have PLA in here, so ABS is good enough for what we're doing. And then close, and if you want to, you can change the color. You can modify the appearance, right? So let's say you want to make it, I don't know, blue. I have to download blue. Put blue on it. There we go. Close it. Let's save it. So this is my pin slider block. I'm going to save it as that, and then next we'll do the screw slider block if that's your block.